Okay, this meeting comes to order at about 11:32. Yes. Invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Yes, sir. We have, good morning, board members, and welcome to the work session. Senior staff and members here, welcome to this beautiful February 2nd day. I would like to ask Ms. Janice Hernandez to please lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Thank you. Thank you for every seat that has been filled here today. For each mind and heart that feels the presence of this room, we thank you. Only you truly know what we are setting out to accomplish today. We have an idea, a vision, and daily instructions. We have talents, abilities, and time to work. However, only you can see in perfect detail the end of every beginning, every project, every season, every life. Nothing is ever in vain, for even mistakes and missteps are used for good. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comments? Sir?
We did not have anyone sign up for public comment, sir.
No public comments. Okay, now before we go into item number 4, with the permission of the rest of the board, we're going to go into closed session. We have one item to discuss that I know of, and then we can get our lunch. Also, I want to make you aware that we're trying to work on something to get the meeting done by 1. Lloyd has assigned time limits to each presentation. So in order to try to make this work a little better, I'm going to ask the board to write down your questions, let them finish presenting. Maybe that question will get answered, during the whole presentation. If not, at the end of their presentation, we'll ask any questions. That way we can respect everyone's time. I know people have to go back to work or have to go do this or that. So our goal is to be out of here by 1 o'clock today.
Before you read off the numbers, can I make one recognition before we go into closed
Yes.
session?
Let me just ask, is there any questions or input from the board on that? Anybody don't understand? Okay.
Yes, sir. So those time things are for us as a staff to make sure we can give that information out to you guys in a timely manner. And so, like Mr. Vasquez said, we're going to have some time cards, but they're for staff. And I just want everyone to know that, to help us with some cues. Before we go into closed session, I just want to make an announcement. If you received an email from our communications director, Janice Hernandez, you'll notice that there's a new branding icon associated with her signature page. And so I'd like to share a letter that I received from the Public Relations Society of America. It was addressed to Southwest ISD, to myself, and it basically says, I want to share with you the exciting news that Janice Carpio Hernandez, APR, accredited public relations, has recently become an accredited member of the public relations profession by successfully completing a comprehensive examination governed by the Universal Accreditation Board. The examination for accreditation in public relations measures a candidate's knowledge, skills, and abilities in the practice of public relations, including communication theory, management science, strategic planning, and ethics. It is structured in such a way that a candidate must have several years of experience in the profession to attain accreditation. Accountants have their CPA, architects have their AIA. In the same way, public relation professionals can distinguish themselves by achieving the accreditation in public relations APR. We are immensely proud of Janice's accomplishments. We know you must be proud to be working with such a capable person and thought you would like to know of this accomplishment. And so I share this with our board when any of our staff members elevate and and add credentialing. We want to recognize that. So our newest member for accredited public relations, Ms. Janice Hernandez. That's on a publicly commend her. Congratulations. I don't know if you want to have a speech planned or what, Janice.
No, I just wanted to thank everyone in this room. I've learned from everyone here through this process and going through everything and helping and working together and collaborating. And I want to thank the board especially for always supporting all of our ideas, and everything that we've been able to do the last couple of years has been because of the support of the board, of our superintendent, and everyone in this room. So thank you again.
So Janice normally brings recognition, so I knew she wouldn't bring it herself, so I figured we would come through a side door and do this.
Janice, congratulations on behalf of the board. And thank you for your support to us. Anyone else want to say anything to Janice? Okay. Okay, then pursuant to sections 551.001-551.146 of the Texas Government Code, pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, discussion on personnel and administrative employment resignations, reassignments, leave of absences, and contract renewals. We will now go into closed session. Okay, call this meeting back in session, 12:05. Item number 4, consider approval of sample student survey in partnership with Texas A&M. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is an item in your board packet that's on page 4. It's the only action item we have today. In our partnership, the Aspire with Texas A&M University in San Antonio and 6 other southwest side school districts, we're trying to address a long-term solution or change in the digital divide that has really surfaced during the pandemic. Students, families who may live in areas where there's a lack of infrastructure, or they may live in areas where there's infrastructure, but there's affordability issues. And so Texas A&M with the Aspire School District is taking this issue so that we can move forward in changing some state level policy and support, federal level policy and support, so that we can once think of internet as a common utility, just like we do as water, gas, electricity, in a house, it's affordable and part of our everyday life. That's where internet technology needs to be. And so part of creating that is creating a foundation of input from the family and students. And so what Texas A&M is asking to do is to do a sample survey of 30 students in our district. It's broken up on page 4 for you. They like to do 15 English surveys, 15 Spanish surveys. They would like to do Clark Elementary, middle school, and high school students. Those survey instruments are attached in your board packet. I did through them. Part of our processes and protocols, we always ask the board to approve the instrument survey. Since this is a sample or sampling of surveys, the way Texas A&M would like to do this in concert with Dr. Shapiro, who's leading the effort on their behalf, is to conduct the survey, obviously getting parent permission. Parents have access to seeing the surveys prior to the students putting their information down. If they opt into the opportunity, he would like to come in and have a cognitive meeting with each student to learn if the survey was difficult, if they understood the questions. They're taking the time to really get this right before we come out and a collective group of 7 districts with Aspire and give it out to all students. So this is our part of doing that. So I would like to ask the board to please take action on approving the instrument that's presented in your package. And the process, the sample, new for us. We normally just go out and survey, but they're taking the time to come in and ask questions. And there will be a parent permission form for that aspect as well, to meet with a representative from Texas A&M, an administrator or teacher from the campus, to be able to provide highly effective feedback so we can get the surveys correct and get them out in a very holistic manner with all Southside school districts.
Thank you.
If I can answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? I just wondering, is this also being tested in other districts?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Everybody that has Aspire. Yeah, I really like it. I went through it and I like what they're doing, so.
I move.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Lord. Well, thank you for taking less than 10 minutes. Item number 5, items of information, update on STEAM proposal.
Yes, sir. This is a continuation from conversations or presentations that we had in last month about that. I'll further look for assistant superintendent for curriculum.
Ms. Delila Garcia. Sorry, I forgot my microphone.
And Dr. Russo, good afternoon. We do have now the initial layer of the work, and what we're trying to continue to plan through is looking at the details. And we're gonna have Ms. Myers come and share some of the plans of the discussions that are occurring within the district. And so as a district, looking at this opportunity and looking at how we can communicate the plan, how we can engage stakeholders to be part of the plan in order for this to be something that will benefit the district as a whole. And so I know that in the prior presentation, we went ahead and shared just the big aspects of the components that Trinity University has taken Ms. Myers through the learning. And so now we're drilling down into some of the details of this work. Okay? So, thank you, Lord.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board. Good afternoon, Dr. Rushta. So today I just wanted to share some updates with you on where we're at and the different pieces of the STEAM Academy that we've been completing and working on. Again, these are just the top points and that we learned about during the Trinity School Design Network. A lot of this work is something that we were taught on how to make sure that we are getting this school up and running and making sure that we are thinking about all of the different components to make sure that it's successful. So last time we did talk about the 2 different logos. Roger is going to be working on those. So we've met and I've spoken to him. He's going to digitize them, make them nice and clean, and we will update you with those as soon as they are ready. Again, we went over communication plans and public relations. We are wanting the community to vote on the STEAM logo once Roger is finished with them. And I want to thank Janice for going through and making sure that we have a clear and effective communications plan. So we do have that in place and ready to go with all the different components of it that we will need to make sure that this is put out to the community in an effective manner. I did send out another survey to my community to see what their feedback is. We're still getting those back. I sent out, we have about 100 of them. I just sent it out so far. We have about 100 back. We have a lot of interest in the community so far in those 100. The majority of them, I think there's 12 total that said no, that they no to staying there for up to 8th grade. The rest want to go or ask you to stay, but there are some where I put in there very clearly in the survey about them going to a traditional middle school that would offer athletics and all of those other things. And so we do have some interest in that, but we do have a lot that are interested in staying. We also asked about the 6th and 8th grade pieces. So I'm still going through all of that data, and I will make sure and get it to everyone once we have collected all the surveys. And our enrollment that we have is currently about 224 seats available at the campus, and that's pre-K through 6th grade totals. So I went through each grade level. What the plan is to make sure that we fill all of the empty seats that we have right now to cap each classroom out. After that, we did go ahead and design a enrollment and lottery process, as well as a waiting list process, so that once we get enough students on the waiting list, when we have around 18 to 20 students on that waiting list, then we can discuss possibly opening up another classroom at each grade level. But until then, we would cap it out first and make sure that we are not opening a class with 5 kids in it. sorry, I didn't click on this. This is our building capacity and our current enrollment. And like I said, we have about 224 seats available right now. I think this is pretty much all of the things we're going through. I will share the admissions, lottery, and waiting list process and procedures with you all. And we're also in the process of designing a page on our website so that parents can go to, and it would have all of the information on there clearly lined out for them. So they would know exactly with all the links so that they can click on them and make sure to go in and get all the information that they need on any of the different components. Again, just some accomplishment and opportunity, accomplishments that we've had going through this all last year and again through this year. And just to wrap it up, again, our whole focus and point on doing this is just to make sure that we are retaining our students, keeping them from leaving Southwest ISD in the first place and going to a charter school, building while simultaneously building a pipeline to CAS STEM. And of course, it's all based on community interest and choice. And that is it. Are there any questions?
Tracy? We're going to leave this as a standing item to, as we're pulling this kind of program together, what it looks like at some point in the future. We definitely would like the board to officially approve the program. It's basically taking Hidden Cove Elementary, creating Hidden Cove STEAM Academy, where students and teachers have the PBL credentialing behind them and create a different experience, with the idea that it could be a feeder into CAS STEM high school, and the idea that there will be a cadre of sixth grade students allowed to stay in that program. The idea is that half of those students, whatever that number is, 50 or 60, half of them will be from Hidden Cove, and the other half will be from students who may not live in that attendance zone, but they have a strong desire, along with their families, to make a choice to go into that. Before we go to the next meeting, we have a standing item in our senior staff and a standing item in our brown bag. We're going to connect now with the CAS network because I think there will be some interest there. We're not doing this with CAS. We definitely like to see where they can plug in, provide some support, and help us create that conduit that goes from elementary to middle and stay in CAS STEM high school. Or you don't have to. You can go to a traditional high school if you want to part of the program as well.
I have a question. I don't remember, Ms. Myers, if you told us at the last time you presented, the 100% of teachers that are PBL trained, that's already happened or it needs to happen?
So we did have training the last year and before the school year started, and that's when I had 100% of my teachers trained. I do have new teachers, of course, on campus this year. So we did purchase Defined Learning, and that is they're training the teachers. Teachers are currently going through the training by doing online modules. So they're completing those at their own pace. And the expectation is that everyone who will be teaching there next year needs to have that PBL certification done.
And the original training, who conducted that and how was that?
That was done in-house here by Southwest ISD. It was something that Jody Maddox had put on during the summer and offered to the district and all teachers to go in and join in. And that's when we had 100% of the Hidden Cove staff that actually attended that training.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
And so this is going to go on, like, is there another phase to this before we go to the vote on it, sir?
Say it again.
Is there another phase after this before it goes to vote? Like you said, you were talking about CAS, and that's when you got it. I was trying to.
Yeah. Well, we probably need to bring this as the regular February board meeting so that the communication plan. Right now, we're competing with other alternative choices in San Antonio that are rolling out their programs. Our feeling is that we delay beyond the February board approval, then we won't be able to officially offer the program to our parents. And so our plan is to bring it in February to the board, where we have it designed out and the board will fully understand what we're trying to create with the Hidden Cove STEAM Academy. But then continue to do presentations in March, April, and May, all the way through. Yeah. We also realize that we are competing for families and students, and we know we're already behind. We don't want to get really far behind. So yeah, we'll come, but we're gonna always be expanding items throughout this year to make sure we're presenting everything as we know and that we're answering questions to the board. So,
And once Ms. Myers makes this work and we all see what a great program it is, we're looking at the possibilities of growing it to other elementaries or,
We're working with our principals, and some are maybe a step ahead than others right now, for each of our elementaries to work in our feeder patterns into Southwest Elementary, Castle, Southwest High School, to be able to offer something that's engaging for families and students that they can make a choice. And I'll give you an example right now. Dr. Fay Billy is doing some work with Bob Hope Elementary, who also partnered with Sky Harbor Elementary, and they're doing a piece on individualized education, and they're going to bring their presentation probably not for the 2021-2022 school year, but 22 and 23 school year. So yes, we're all working on an idea of how we can take our traditional elementaries, which they're community schools and they're great, but put something umbrella over all of them that really helps their students kind of resonate into their school experience and be more engaged. And so there's some excitement around that, and we plan to bring the next group to school, and then following that, we'll probably have 3 or 4 more after that, but eventually all 11 elementary will be coming to you with their thematic what they want.
One more question, sir. Just when will we see like how is it going to be like cost effective or into our budgets, where it's placed into our budget? Like how much is it going to cost for us to do all this stuff?
Hopefully, and it's a good question, hopefully we can bring that every time we have a presentation. The idea is that whatever the plan is, whatever direction, pathway, the school and school community want to go, that it's either cost neutral or with the additional ADA, that becomes cost neutral. So we are not looking to add additional costs, other than when we realize there may be some startup costs. For furniture and climate is a big thing at Team, and I'm sure there'll be some ideas that in Bob Hope and Sky Harbor, we weren't expecting schools to pair up, but the principals came to that conclusion that they could work better together.
Sure.
In each period, so we like the idea, but we don't expect it to add to the budget. Now, someone like Brandon would say, look, that would take time to get there. Of course, there's always going to be some cost because we may not have the exact 25-1 ratio that fills in. So we are not bringing additional costs. We're bringing a cost neutral plans forward.
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Myers.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ms. Warner.
Thank you.
Okay, item B, Under Armour, Under the Lights Basketball League.
Yes, sir. This is an opportunity. Coach Wagner presented a few years back about increasing. We all understand the value of youth sports. He brought us a presentation about work he was going to be doing in the youth sports arena to create more opportunities for Southwest ISD families and students and get these students engaged in something that's really proactive and productive and teaches the attributes we want students to have moving forward. And so he's going to do a presentation today about a potential partnership, and then we will open it up to the board for any questions.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. So what we're doing here is an opportunity for Southwest ISD to partner with a company called PR Sports, but they have the exclusive rights to Under the Lights, which is sponsored by Under Armour. And so what it is, and I'll go through this a little bit, is a group, they have the exclusive rights to Under the Lights. Kids in pre-K through 8th grade play 6-on-6. And what we do is we'll take one of our turf football fields and divide it up into 4 different fields at 25 yards wide, going all the way to the back of each end zone. And so we'll be able to play 4 games on each one. We'll go from pre-K through 8th grade. Games last about 45 minutes. And then each kid, when they pay their fee, receives a Under Armour jersey, an NFL team, a Power 5 conference like the Longhorns or A&M or any of those people, they get to choose their team. They get an Under Armour jersey, they get Under Armour shorts, and then they get their flags as well. Practices only happen 1 hour before the game, so we don't give them all these extra practices and all that. They come in, they learn how to play, they go play. Simple as that. Who can participate? Boys and girls from pre-K to 8th grade. SWISD students, and so we're always looking for ways for us to compete, to compete with charter schools, bring people in. One thing that we as an ISD have are great facilities, so we want to utilize those in the sports arena. So the big thing, there's a lot of leagues out there. The big thing about this league is they're contracted with Under Armour. And so there's some things that go with it. And talking to these guys, I told them that the biggest thing for us is to bring something really big into Southwest ISD, but for a price that our families can afford and give them an opportunity. So right now, Under the Lights is operating with about a 500 kid league at Cornerstone with all of the Dominion kids and all of those kids. And it's the same exact league that we'd be bringing here from all these different Northside areas. And we'd be bringing it here for about 50 to 60% of the cost. So our kids would pay $75. There's an incredibly ridiculous processing fee of $15.45 that we don't have any negotiating rights towards. So they actually pay about $90 a registration. Non-SWISD kids, so if they're going to IDEA or they're outside of our zone, if they're in Medina Valley or whatever, they would pay $165 to be a part of our league. We're expecting that 90 to 95% of our league will be Southwest ISD kids. The fees include, and like I already said, the jerseys and the shorts. I looked on there just to compare to make sure that we were doing something really well for our kids. And so YMCA right now is starting their flag football leagues. Will start this month. And they run for YMCA members, they're running about $155 for 7 weeks of football, $185 for non-members. So our kids are actually getting it at about 90%, at $90 less even after the processing fee. Furthermore, I looked at Westside YMCA where my kids played when they were young. They're not running any flag football right now or anything else like that. They're getting ready to play some basketball, but we're not doing that right now. So that was kind of a cost comparison. Leagues will be played on Sunday afternoons. I'm looking right now at Legacy only because I think we do a lot here. I really don't want to compete with the Pony League on a Sunday when they're doing their tournaments. And it's so nice out there. It's bigger. People can spread out, all of that kind of stuff. So looking at probably putting it at Legacy for right now. But it's Sunday afternoons, depending on how many kids we have. It could go from anywhere from 2 to 6, something like that, in that range. The leagues will start on March 28th and they'll run through mid-May. And then from there, we'll have at the end of each season, you'll have a league tournament. And then from that league tournament, they'll have a city tournament or a regional tournament. And then in the spring at each level, those kids can actually qualify for a spot in the National Under Armour tournament. In the spring, it's in Bradenton, Florida. In the fall, they play at Notre Dame. So for us to get that, those guys are pretty much operating the registration at cost. So they'll charge $3 to get into the gate, and then they'll do a small concession stand with all prepackaged foods. It'll be all safe and the things that we're all accustomed to nowadays. How they'll do it, PR Sports will go through our facilities department and the proper channels for facility rentals. They'll use the Southwest Sports Initiative, which we talked about here a while ago. They'll pay for all on-site SWISD administrator, custodian, and they'll hire professional security, as we do for everybody. They'll be required to follow all of our COVID mitigation protocols with mask wearing and sanitizing and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll go through those operations with them. Why? This is something to provide our community with a safe and affordable option for our kids to compete in nationally branded league that may sow the seeds for future success in many sports and classrooms. So part of this is as we grow, the idea is that we'll start hiring our high school kids to do the refereeing, and we'll get them through TASO, and we'll start building a relationship that we can grow. We're missing a lot of officials right now. So They're asking us to do some things to help them recruit, and this is a way to do that as well. Creating social capital, did a lot of work over the break about social capital, just bringing people in the community together as safely as possible. But you know, you're going to have a lot of young moms and dads that are coming up that can coach these kids and volunteer. They're going to be together. We'll be able to, since it's in ours, we'll run game time if the district wants to do a bunch of, you know, you want to get a message out to those elementary school kids for grades are coming up, check your kids' grades, all of these different types of things. It's an opportunity to really engage with our community in several different ways. And so we're looking to do those things and take advantage of that. And then just a great way to promote other district initiatives, as well as just the general health of our kids, getting them going and doing all those types of things. And Brandon said keep it short, so I kept it as short as I could. So any questions?
So PR is going to be doing the day-to-day operations?
PR takes care of everything. So basically they're going to they're going to take care of the rostering. They're going to take care of the scheduling. The turnaround for them, the trade-off for them is that I told them you can have the whole gate and the concession stands.
Okay.
And then from there, then that's how we're able to drop that cost. Hopefully we do well at that, so we don't have to up the cost as we go.
Right.
But they can run anywhere. We're looking at, as we figure out COVID and things like that, doing this for basketball as well.
Yeah.
And talking to our basketball coaches. Our kids don't play basketball a lot anymore in a lot of places, and it shows sometimes. And so we're looking at trying to build, you know, we have the Pony League.
Yeah.
When it comes to all of the other sports, we're kind of missing some of those things. And so this is a good way to at least start that part of it.
And Peter, any parent issues that were to come up, we have no jurisdiction over that. PR is solely responsible
they
for
cover
dealing
the
with that.
refunds, they cover, but they're also pretty strict, but I have a very good relationship with them. I'll probably be the administrator on duty for a few weeks to kind of make sure it's all going right and everything else like that. And then go from there. If we get a really big turnout, then we might use both the complex and the and legacy. I try to keep it on turf because keeping grass, it costs money to take care of grass.
Yeah.
Our turf is second to none, so try to keep that. And the whole idea of under the lights is really they want you to play under the lights, so you give the young kids that Friday night atmosphere. But so we want to keep them on the nice stuff.
They're going to be coaching the screening the coaches. They're going to
Yes,
be doing
they do all the background checks. They do all of those things that has to be done. They have to have a certificate, and all of those things have to be done before they even get on the field.
And how many of district personnel would you probably need on the Saturday or the Sunday?
It would just be the admin that they would pay for. They would be responsible for a security officer and then a custodian.
Sounds good, Peter.
And,
Yes, sir.
and in turn, they keep the gate fee and concessions.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the way that they can make their
And
money.
just to throw it out there in the future, maybe for next year, we need to start looking at some way to come up with scholarships, because even though it's a low cost, we still have families that kids want to play and can't afford. So
Yep.
start we need to start looking at that. Maybe even the foundation could kick in some money. But
And like
Yeah,
I
I
said,
like it.
hopefully as we figure out the indoor sports, maybe in the fall, whatever it is, but as everybody starts feeling like we're going to we create a safe environment, we really want to they have what they call 3-on-3 basketball. So we would play, like the little kids would play on the 4 courts, and you play 3-on-3 for 20 minutes, play 2 games, and the little kids can play all the way up to 8th grade. And then eventually we bring them into the high school and stuff. So right now we teach our freshmen a lot of skills. They should have the skills, and we should be worrying about schematics, but it is what it is right now.
Sounds
How
exciting.
many times do they play during their season? And how many times a week do they play? Or is it just one?
One time a week, and they'll play, I think it's six regular season games and then a league tournament. The winners of the first and second from that league tournament can qualify to the regional tournament. And they have leagues. We have 6 leagues. So they have 4 leagues in here, and then starting a league in Leander and starting a league in Buda right now as well. So they'll all play each other.
So you say, how many did you say in this district?
Six regular season games and a tournament.
And how many, is that to say quit?
Right.
10.
Ties up.
One quick question, and I can't remember what it was.
What's that?
I can't remember what I was gonna say.
So they're gonna play they'll play 6 games, so 6 straight weeks. You only play 1 game and you only practice an hour before the game. So there's not a whole lot of commitment by the family. It's just, let's get them playing and
Right.
everything. And then at the end of that 7th week is a league tournament.
Okay. So this will be one league.
Correct.
So you're using 6 facilities,
No,
No.
using one facility.
1 facility.
Okay.
So we might start at like 1 or 2 o'clock and go until
Mhm.
6 or 7 o'clock.
Don't go much later than that.
Yes, sir. We'll make sure that happens. And if we get too big, then we'll have to
Yeah.
use another facility.
But we have plenty of facilities, so
Correct.
it'll be easy.
Sounds
Great.
exciting.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna touch you.
Okay, election update,
Yes, sir.
Brandon.
And so, as you know, the last board meeting, the board voted to do a joint election with the city of Lido. And so I gone ahead and confirmed that with Bear County. We had a meeting last week with Bear County elections officials, and they invite all the school districts and all city municipalities that actually play a part in a May election. And so I have put forth and asked Bear County to add additional early voting sites for the district for our election. And so in that part, when we met last week, they kind of told me and explained their process. And so what they're trying to do in November, they had 45 early voting sites. They are looking to be at 38 early voting sites across Bear County for the county election. With us having this site as a early voting site guaranteed, I've requested at least 3 additional early voting sites from Bear County. And so what they're telling me is what their process is they're first going to look at the city elections going on. So they're going to have 2 early voting sites for every region for the city council. So there'll be 2 for each one. Then they look at every school district as part of their election, and they will make sure that every school district has an early voting site. And then they look at the city and the municipalities, like example would be city of Somerset. They would make sure that everybody has at least 1 early voting site. But they are going to try to make sure everybody has their sites, have it fully staffed. They're actually adding additional staff to every site because of COVID. They did that in the fall as well. And so once they have done all that, they're going to come back to our request and anybody else that requests for extras and see if they can staff those and if they can meet our request. And so right now, as a district, we've been going around trying to find places that we could use that isn't a school. Because it's going to run for 10 days. And part of the election thing as well that Bear County is requesting is open spaces, big spaces, so they can social distance people. And so for the most part, most schools aren't allowing them into schools. So they're okay with it. They're okay with them going into our schools if that's what we have to do. So we are looking and we talked to some clergy to see about some churches. Right now there's not a lot of people opening their doors for 10 days. They don't mind 1 day, but 10 days is tough on some facilities. We feel like McCullough Middle School right now, the library, if you recall, we have a library that's kind of was going to be a community library. It had its own entrance. It has good parking there. So if we get an early voting site for that area, I think McCullough might be the best site for us because we can isolate the library and they don't have to go through the building. It just would be down for those kids for a couple of days, or maybe we can mitigate somehow to split it in half. But other than that site right now, we're still looking in the Scobie, Big Country area, and also the Legacy Spicewood area to see if we can find a site that's not a school. If we have to go with a school in the Legacy area, we do have Legacy and Resnick that have gyms and some bigger facilities that are be comparable. Our issue with Scobie and Big Country is that Scobie's under renovation. In Big Country and Freewold, they're a little bit smaller in size, so we want to try to not put any voting at that site if we don't have to. But at the end of the day, if they give us 3 sites and we have to use our schools, those would be the areas that we would try to add these sites at. I will finish this by saying that it's in the hands of Bear County now. I've requested the sites. They're trying to make sure they have enough to staff everybody equally across the whole county. And then once they get that done, they circle back to everybody else that's requested additional and let us know. So this could be a little bit longer process before we know exactly what we get, because right now they're having, going through the process to secure sites, because they've lost some sites since November, and most school districts aren't opening up their schools to use for sites. So they're scrambling, they're trying to find enough sites. I will say that if they do give us a site, they may ask us to let them use it as well. So I just want to make sure that with the board for their election. And so that's kind of where we are. It's a process, it's trying to figure out. We have our sites for election day, and we have this site for early voting guaranteed. It's adding those additional early voting sites is what we're working on right now. Finding the actual venue, and then working through the Bear County to see if they can actually staff it and support it.
What, do you have a tentative date they might have pinned everything down?
I would be truthful, in November, I think it was 2 weeks before the actual election started, that they added even more early voting sites. So they're going, I asked the question, I mean, every 2 days, I send them if there's any updates. And right now, they're just trying to work on getting all the sites secured for, well, like I said, the first tier. And then from there, I don't want to say I'm going to know by next week or next month. It could be a process.
The first tier is how many sites? 2?
38.
No, but the first tier for ours.
Well, when I say the tiers, so they're looking at, so the city council area, each city council area has 2 sites early voting that they're getting guaranteed. Sometimes they'll double up, right? So
Okay.
sometimes they'll have 2 here, and then one of those is for the school district too.
Right.
So what they're trying to do is secure, so they're trying to get 2 at each little precinct, 1 for every school district to guarantee, like East Central and us and Somerset, or not Somerset, Somerset is theirs. See, like Somerset and City of Somerset would be combined as one. So they're just trying to make sure that every municipality, every school district, and all the council areas have their required amount. So they think that's about 38. And after that, then they would do any requests.
Right.
And really, I don't think anybody else is requesting any. That we're the only district that actually is separate. And so we might be the only people requesting extras. And so I haven't asked them that, but they do have us on notice that we asked for 3 additional.
Okay.
But they did ask if we would be willing to allow an early voting site
For them.
Their county site as well. So, once I get that for sure, I will bring it back to y'all.
Okay.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay. MDOS evaluation instrument.
Yes, sir. This has been an item, but I think we've done it a couple of times. We've covered signs, we've got signs today to cover it. And Dr. Pay did the original presentation, is going to pick it up today. What we're trying to ask the board to have conversations about and around is that we have to get approved any evaluation instrument that we're going to use, just like for teachers or for support staff. The annual evaluation instrument has to be approved by the board approved. So this is a new position to be managing director of schools in our district. We're obviously working out some growing pains and how does that look when it's here, and how does it look when it's there, and how does it look when it's out with the principals? I can tell you my conversations, one-on-one conversations with principals, the resource itself is extremely embraced and to use words that were used to me, thought-provoking and encouraging me to think outside the box and really kind of lighting that atmosphere where it's kind of a professional growth opportunity at every turn. But what we need to do is, in order to evaluate that position, and we really have 1 full-time MDOS right now. Then we have 3 other folks in our district who are high-quality folks who've been in education a long time, and we're able to kind of take on the MDOS roles and take on some campuses so that we can, spread it out more. And so the instrument that we're asking the board to approve is specifically for a person in our district, but it will be some more later on as we move forward. So Dr. Page is going to go through the instrument. we try to take this evaluation instrument and really align it to our district leadership definition, our commitment to growth, commitment to results, commitment to service, and all the tenets that come under each one of those. And so when you see the instrument in front of you, as she goes through this, it's specifically aligned to our district leadership definition, because that's in the future, that's what we want to do. When we say we are Southwest, we're basically committing to our commitments, and we want those commitments to live within that evaluation instrument. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Perry. I think a ton of 30,000 elevation should speak more specifically to the instrument that we're asking the board to have conversation about. Then we'll go back, we'll bring this in the future for board approval. But what we're asking is to approve the instrument, that we would do that evaluation in this new position, managing director of schools in the Harvard.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Verstuff. And I would like to also provide a little bit of context that I probably should have done in the initial, is that when we onboarded this role to the district, we had a plan for how this would roll out. And so I want to share the structures that we actually kind of live in. And so while the current role reports to me, what we put in place in the first 90 days for the role was for this role to meet across the system individually with all leaders in the system. The other structure that we have in place, and it's been in place since we've had this, is that this role meets with me once a week, but they meet with Dalila once a week as well. And that's been in place since the very beginning. This role is spent 80% of their time on campuses with principals. And in those meetings, Nicole, who is the current MDOS, has also invited the 2 executive directors from curriculum instruction with her. So throughout the fall, those 2 positions within our district, the EDs for secondary and for elementary, have also been in those meetings with Nicole. So I feel personally very comfortable that there's a lot of inputs from the curriculum arena. And I have not been in any of those meetings. I don't go to their meetings. I don't go to the campus principals. My role is really strictly to oversee this role in perspective of how do we support principals. And when there are issues that pop up, the hope is that we can coordinate with the senior team around that. I too took some time to talk to principals, and I have quotes from them because they all feel very strongly that this is a very different type of approach to the work that they're doing. And so I just wanted to share a little bit, a quote from one of our principals. She has helped me grow tremendously. The ability to meet with me biweekly helps me problem solve other options or concerns that arise. She brings an outside lens in the area of school improvement. And I know through her support, our campus will meet the needs of all of our students. And there are many more of those kind of comments, right, to Lloyd's point. But today's presentation and the presentation that we had back in December isn't about the role or the structure. It was more about the evaluation of the role, because this is one of the few roles in the system that we have brought to you as a board that we actually had a return on an investment conversation around. And we did do that in closed session. And so we really want our campuses to be in that top 25% of the country. And that is how we're approaching evaluating the role so that we can get good results for our kids. So to Lloyd's point is that we did take this, we took the work that's coming out of the Wallace Foundation and the University of Washington, and they have standards. And that was in the original presentation that I did back in December. And then we took our leadership commitments and we crosswalked them together. And we made a determination about, well, what do we really want to see in this role to help principals become the best instructional leaders on their campus that they can be? And so the language in here is not necessarily all related to instruction, but it's related to systems and teams and the development and coaching of others, which is a big part of some of the obstacles that are in the way for our leadership who may not have experiences of leading high performance teams, developing structures and systems on their campus to meet the needs of their teachers and their students. Mm-hmm. So to that point, the first big commitment that we have is commitment to growth. And so you have, I did not do it's on my email and there was no way for me to transfer it without getting in the way of what everybody else is seeing. So you have a copy on your desk or on your table.
And so the first one is constantly seeks best practice. And then all of the indicators under that is how, and I'm just going to use the first one. I won't go through all of them unless you have questions about some of them. You should have one on here.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So in the commitment to growth area for this role, constantly seeks best practice. We will ensure that department teams and leaders are growing in their understanding and application of best practice for their function. Coaches strong implementation of team meeting structures, manages resources and budget for staff across the department to be able to learn and implement best practice in their work. Continuously seeks to learn from leaders, departments, and teams throughout organizations to improve. Regularly convenes their principals and takes a teaching approach in those convening to support principals' growth as instructional leaders. Regularly makes teaching moves in the one-on-one settings to support principals' growth as an instructional leader. So that is a good, that one indicator is a really good example of how we've tried to tie the evaluation instrument for this role to the leadership commitments of the district. And so there is going to be 4 different ratings. The first one would be the first one would be needs improvement. The second one would be developing. The third one would be meeting expectations. And then obviously the first one is that they're exceeding expectations. And so typically we are required to bring to you evaluations that we are going to use in HR to evaluate any employee. So any instrument that we're currently using to evaluate any employee of the district has had board approval. T-TEST, T-PES, y'all just approved the new principal evaluation system last year. And so the intention behind bringing this to you in December is to bring our board along with how we're trying to develop the evaluation for the MDOS role itself. And so, so I am now open to questions. And if there's questions probably regarding anything other related to structure or the reporting structures, that's probably more for Dr. Verstuff. But if y'all have questions about the evaluation instrument itself, I'd love to entertain any of those questions today.
Is this slightly different than it was from the last one?
No.
I think, in addition to that, so that everyone has an understanding, it's not like we're all part of it. I meet with the folks every 2 weeks and get feedback and synopsis of the work that we're doing in the equity arena, the work that we're doing in improvement of campus leaders, and how we address issues that, bringing this new position into our district that never had the position, those their requests and principles and our conversation going through kind of the whole work, how we become better leaders in the district we work in. This is one of the kind of examples of listening to the folks who were on the front lines and addressing these issues every day. And so I know that we have some meetings. I think the last time we discussed this, I feel really good about where we are as a district as this position officially on board and who we work to do and who's all part. So I think we're all part of this because that position also works with facility and maintenance and the budget side. And part of the thing that we heard from our principals is, sometimes we talk about budget and these expectations, it's almost like we're checking the box. We really don't understand why. So part of that is for the Department of Business to really help understand that, and then she or whoever the managing directors are takes that to the one-on-one meetings where they have really thoughtful conversations around principles and how you tie in your needs assessment for your campus, how you tie in your campus improvement plan or your campus improvement team as part of the process, the budget cycle. So it's not just kind of putting a number on paper, it's about how everything kind of ties together. And so some of our principals in our big meetings where we have like 40, 50 people, you don't get that intimate conversation that this person, or people, they're not always going to know, but they have the opportunity to hear from principals, go out and learn, either put the expert in front of them or kind of become a trainer of the information. So it's really good. It's great stuff, and I think is going to be a very positive, what makes Southwest different in San Antonio way into the future. we all know the research says, that the principal goes, so goes the campus, and we embrace that. And I think that's the whole thing that both work is built around, understanding the importance of the principalship on the campus, and they are research statistically most significant determination of whether a campus goes up or a campus stays as it is or a campus goes down. So we're investing in principals.
And I'm glad that he brought that up. There is one other on the calendar cadence that happens with this MDOS role, and that is actually with our executive director of federal budget. And because sometimes there's a lot of strings tied to those funds and how we spend them. And I get a text from Nicole every 2 weeks saying, your principals are here with their budget. You need to make sure that they're, so that's been kind of welcome. I would say also for senior staff, having that kind of real intimate insight into campus work has pushed us to a different place where we have to be much more responsive to them as opposed to them being responsive to us. And I know like a good example is yesterday, Dalila and myself got a text about face-to-face instruction, right? Like our principals need to know, can y'all make some decisions around that? So that's been a really healthy, in my opinion, push of the senior team to be more responsive to what's going on our campuses for our principals. And so, so if you have any feedback to that, welcome it at this time. And of course, questions.
I just want to clarify a little bit. I've always been a fan of the possibility of this position. And I know that we have had these discussions for years. And some of my concerns didn't have anything to do with the position as a whole or the big picture of the position. But hearing you talk about the structures, I think that those are good structures to have in place. I guess the challenge is to make sure that the structures are being fully utilized, right? And that the things that are supposed to happen are actually happening, and that the person that does this job is working hand in glove with every department in the best, most productive possible manner. So I just wanted to make that statement.
So,
Yeah, you're right. We have to make sure that's happening. And we're here.
And other than that, I think it's very exciting because like you said, the principals are actually going to have someone that's working with them on the ground. And I think that's critical. And I think that's going to make them just outstanding. They already are, but it's going to take them to the next level.
And I think this will help them have a fuller understanding of the system as a whole and what different roles and parts there are and that they play in or can reach out to. And sometimes a principal is hesitant in asking about this or that. And I think this will let them understand, look, do ask about this or that, or learn about this and that, because it's all part of our system, of your system. And it gives them a greater feeling of being a total team member to the whole Southwest ISD. And I really like it. It's going to take time for some buy-in and change. And we all know all about change. But I think in the long run, it'll, like Lloyd said, put us ahead of others, and I bet others will follow along.
Yes. And to the point, Yolanda, of the structures and attention to the structure, her calendar, the current MDOS, her calendar is shared with both Dalila and myself. And I can print it up any day of the week, and 80% of that time is spent with principals on campuses. And so we've been really diligent about that. But Dalila and I are also part of supervising principals currently, right? So we also have a line of sight into that work as well. And I will tell you, the learning that I'm doing from Nicole on the issues of instruction far exceed anything that we can teach Nicole. And so I'm super excited to be working with her. And I think the newness of it has caused a little bit of friction, amongst us, because it's new to us too. And while we've seen it on paper in other places, the X's and O's, when you steal them from other teams, doesn't work necessarily for your team. You have to manage your own X's and O's so that you can produce a structure and a system that can win for your system. And so, so I'm excited about moving forward with the work, but we can definitely bring probably the MDOS role to report out with principals around the feedback on how it's been so far with all those structures and systems that have been put into place.
I wouldn't mind having a report out at our subcommittee for curriculum and instruction as well, if that's okay. Well, when it has to do with the instruction piece.
Now we started asking questions. Did we answer it, or do you still have-
Oh, yeah, you pretty much hit it on the point right after. So basically, like for the financial and budgets, for the creation of that rating, it's pretty much going to go through, you said, the director of,
It goes through people on his team.
on people on his team. So basically, that rating pretty much goes through you. And then like if it was a development of human reaction, pretty much through you. And instruction, pretty much development of the rating through you.
That's the way I look at it too, is like you have a business sector, you have a person after you, you have curriculum experts, and how do we work in concert together to help this position, help people leave campuses. Yeah, we're all part of it.
And I think if I could zoom out and give just a very high level, it's more about coaching and developing principals to coach and develop great teams and coach and develop other people, which is very different than if you only know instruction or if you only know HR or if you only know.
Yeah, I know the
Right?
difference.
So most of us are generally, at CO especially, we've had experiences leading instruction. We're not the experts, but yet we definitely know how to coach and develop others. And so that's a large part of what we're expecting to see because we want high performing principals in our system. So,
Thank you.
and that's all I have.
What I asked, this instrument will be coming to the board for approval, most likely at the February meeting. That if during the interim, if maybe board members can kind of go through here, if you have a question, either send it to me or to Dr. Baird to Dalila in the form of an email, so we can either clarify or answer, or give us a call. And that's a lot to go through. So basically, is developed with our 3 commitments to each tenant that really define each commitment. And it's a full number. I know I've been through it, and it is I still the 2 areas of clarity that we're going to go through. So there may be a couple of changes in some of this, but we'll definitely cover what those are when you get it next time. Just some semantics and work.
I think I just would want to know more, like what creates needs more improvement. What creates the meeting the standard, what creates above the standard, what creates those ratings to understand it, what they're getting. I think that's something, that question I would probably seek out.
We can address that and bring it to developing the standard or cover that.
And in my cadence meetings with the role, we specifically go over the goals that have been set for them. So, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Great,
you.
great. Anything else?
No, sir, no,
Okay, I'm gonna jump to item number 8. Need a motion for any action that was held in closed session.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve discussions on personnel in closed session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. At this time, other business, I have one item. I did get a letter in regards to Chico's resignation from the Bexar County Appraisal District. The way that works is the actual election will take place December 31, 2021, but in the meantime, the current board of directors can appoint someone and we can nominate someone for their appointing. And I'll tell you what, Chico was pretty much got the votes of Bexar County, and they'll probably come up with a winning nominee, but we'll have to put this on the agenda for regular meeting Tuesday. And if anybody wants to come up with someone to nominate, you can. If you have further questions, you can meet with me after the meeting. But normally, if you remember the Bear County Appraisal District, we usually have one representing Bear County, one representing the city of San Antonio, because they have those votes. And so I'm guessing that Bear County will probably appoint somebody and have the votes out of another commissioner. Okay, all right. But just to give you a heads up, if anybody has someone in mind. Okay? Chico, he lost the election. So he's off he was off the Bear Appraisal District Board of Directors now. Okay. Your one last thing, Dr. Versta?
Yes, sir. I'd like to publicly announce and thank the Administration Human Resource and the group who led the effort process to identify a recommendation that the board just approved for principalship. That's Whitewood Park Elementary. Just want to publicly congratulate Tanya Velasquez, who was in the role of the assistant principal at Whitewood Park, and now she's elevated into principalship at Whitewood Park Elementary. I'd like to invite the board, if you have an opportunity, there will be a version of Southwest ISD student athlete signings tomorrow with the National Letter of Intent Day. And we do have 5 athletes who will be signing 9 a.m. at Southwest Legacy in the competition gym. We have Madeline San Miguel signing for volleyball. Mark Garcia will be signing to continue his passion in baseball. Southwest High School at 3:15 p.m. tomorrow. Laura Lee Herper will be signing for volleyball. At the next level, Angelina Isbell will be signing, I believe, for volleyball. And just for softball, I believe, Justin Alvarez will be signing for tennis as well at 3:15. So one at 9 o'clock in the morning, one at 3:15. Social distance. We make sure it's a small group, but we want to be there to support our students and really pursuing their passion in their sports and in higher education. Just a simple reminder, a big thank you to the board for agreeing to move our board training. It's coming up February 9th. It was supposed to happen last week. Of course, we had some postponed, and thank you for your flexibility in moving that. Both days, February 9th and February 10th, begin at 5:30 p.m.
Where?
Here.
Here.
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone? Yes, Brendan.
I just want to say on February 12th is the last day for taxes to be turned in. I just wanted to reiterate that.
Okay. Hearing nothing else. This meeting has come to adjournment at 1:07.